My name is Eithne Dunbar. I grew up in Ireland as Eithne Gary, or Eithne ní Gaire, in Garrycastle, Athlone, County Westmeath. And there were 6 of us in my family. I have 1 brother and 5 sisters. My mother was the teacher in a small 2-room country school, Kilbunny National School. She was the principal teacher. And she had a great love of the Irish language and history. And she taught us this history of Ireland, you know, with stories, and she was very passionate about the history of Ireland. And of course we learnt about the famine, but it wasn't often talked about in the house, perhaps because of the poverty and desperation and sadness that was associated with it. And we were in new times and different times. But I've always loved the language. So my mother was also very much a believer in education for women. Even though my father might have liked us to stay on the farm or to marry the local shopkeeper, she was the one who really encouraged us to go on to education. And so I went to University College Galway, and there I did biochemistry. And that's where I met my husband Tony. And we were in the choir, in the University College Galway choir. We travelled to Dublin and Galway for competitions. And I love singing. I love singing in the Irish language. I should have mentioned that when I was 11, I went on for 3 months to Tierney, Lettermore, Connemara for 3 months to spend time with the family. And I became quite fluent in Irish at that time. And I also learned to sing in Irish then. And since then I've loved to sing in the Irish language. But anyway, Tony came over to Canada to pursue a PhD, and then I came along to see what it was like. And I came at Christmas time, and the snow was falling, and the people were skating, and the music was going, and it all seemed lovely. And I came back the following May, and we were married here in Canada in December 1972. And again, we thought we would just stay for a while. And then the children came. We have 4 children, Kevin, Fiona, Siobhan and Aileen, and we settled into life in Canada in a small town called Brockville, which is on the St. Lawrence River. It's in Ontario, sort of between Montreal and Ottawa, on the St. Lawrence. And when we came to Brockville, we were trying to settle in, get used to the customs, trying to get the kids into things that we weren't involved in growing up, like swimming and ice hockey and gymnastics and ballet. We weren't thinking, we kind of put aside Ireland, other than the fact that we might go back to Ireland every couple of years. And then the cousins came over, and we always kept the link, of course, with the cousins and with my sisters. And one summer I was back in Ireland, we were in Spiddle. And you know, people just spontaneously got up in the pub and they sang and they danced, and I knew I missed that part very much. And so I began to pursue, there's nothing like this happening in Brockville, of course. So I began to think about, I met up with Anne McConnell, who was living in Kingston at the time. She's passed away, God rest her soul. And she was travelling from Kingston to Ottawa once a week to dance with the Peggy Kendall and Irish dancers in Ottawa. And she said, why don't you come with me? I'll stop off in Brockville and pick you up. So then I began, through that, I was dancing then with the Kendall and Irish dancers, a group of adult dancers, you know, doing the Bridge of Athlone and the Walls of Limerick and the Siege of Ennis and all these dances hadn't done for ages, and I thought it was fantastic. And then, so that gave me the link to Kingston and Ottawa, and I began to see that it was actually okay to be Irish, and people actually liked being associated with Irish people and the songs and the music. So that opened up all kinds of doors. And I was ready in my life, the kids were teeny, I was ready to explore new things. And so I decided to start an Irish Society in Brockville in 1996. And I started teaching some Irish dancing on a volunteer level to my own teenage daughters, and other people wanted to come in. The Kingston community gave us wonderful support. Harold McGillaghenny used to come and play at our céilís. And I was teaching at St. Lawrence College in Brockville. I was teaching chemistry and biology. And we were able to use the student pub for céilís. And the first céilí was fantastic. The live music, the dancing, the singing. And from there we realised people wanted to connect with us, and because of their own heritage. And so the Brockville Irish Society is still going strongly. And we've done things like we've brought in musicians, like Tommy Peoples came to Brockville, for example. And we brought in musicians from, I'm on the spot now to think of the names of people who have come from Ireland. And Toronto, Montreal, we would bring in musicians and have concerts and people. Sean Tyrrell from County Clare. And we had, a few years ago then I got inducted into our Hall of Fame for music and performing arts, for bringing our Irish culture into our town. And so it was a nice recognition of the Irish and how we have contributed to our town. And of course we are often sad that we have emigrated, what we've left behind. You never forget where you came from, and you miss the flowers, and when it's the 1st of February, you miss the lambs and you think it's the first day of spring. You can't forget where you came from, and but on the other hand, fate will take us where it will, and we have contributed to our community, with our Irish culture, and that's all good. And so we continue to do that. We have a big céilí every St. Patrick's night, and we try to bring in local musicians. We have had workshops in our town in fiddle and pipes and bodhrán and tin whistle. And so now we have, musicians in our town that are playing the music. And every Sunday afternoon we now have a session from 2 to 4 at a lovely coffee house, which is the oldest stone house in Brockville. It's Richard's Coffee House. And we have a session there every Sunday afternoon from 2 to 4. And it's lovely. People enjoy the music and we love playing the music.